Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day and above all else that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another segment of Attack of the Killer B-Sides. And with me today, I have Mr. Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Doing great, Armando. How are you?
Doing good for now. Doing good for now. For only two sips of coffee, I'm doing pretty good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the premise of these episodes that we're going to be doing is I thought it'd be fun to take a list of albums and basically concentrate on the B-sides of these albums and discuss why we think, in this case, we think that the B-sides of these albums are in fact killer from track one to track six or even seven or eight. You know, there was a time where you could fit seven or eight songs on a vinyl side of an album. Um, but those days are long gone. But I digress. So, Bill has agreed to join me on two segments. In this segment, we're going to be tackling, the Beatles' Abbey Road, side two. Now, just a bit of background on. There you go. There you go. Thank you for the props there, Bill. Now, Abbey Road was released on September 26, 1969. It was recorded from February 22nd to August 20th of 1969. And there's a bit of background on this album. The Beatles had recorded what some people would call the disjointed White Album. And at this point, uh, George Martin, their producer, was getting really frustrated with the working environment that was going on with the Beatles. They reconvened to start to record tracks for what would be eventually considered the Let It Be album. Those sessions fell apart. Um, Martin got a call from McCartney one night saying, "We want to produce another work on another album. Would you produce it?" And Martin said, "I will if you let me produce it, and none of the bullshit." So McCartney said, "No, no, 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 no. We've agreed. We want to go in and do an album. So would you produce it?" And out came Abbey Road. Again, we're going to be concentrating on the B side of Abbey Road. And I want to stress this point. This is not to say that the A sides of these albums are inferior, because they're not. Okay? We're just going to have a little fun with this and we're going to concentrate on the B sides. Henceforth, Attack of the Killer B sides. So, without further ado, I'll pass the virtual mic over to Bill and he'll give his opinion on side B of Abbey Road.
Thank you, sir. If I looked a little startled there, that's because my wife Stacy poked her head in the door, not realizing we were in recording mode.
I realize that.
Hi,
Give
Stacy.
her, give her my best.
Right. Um. All right. Abbey Road, the B side. Yes. Well, this is a top five all time album for me. It's one I never get tired of. So, of course, side B is quite perfect. In fact, I think side B is probably the best side of music that the Beatles ever produced, together or separately, in
Hmm.
any capacity. Um, and you were talking about, the days of seven or eight songs on vinyl. It's kind of a technicality here, the way the songs are blended, but this one actually has 11 songs on side two.
That's right.
So it just squeaks by. Some of them are pretty short tidbits, but whatever, it works.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get you. It
Wow.
ain't lost on me, believe me. So,
All right. Now, one thing differentiating, all right, sides back in the album days where they had sides and it wasn't just all one long CD
yeah,
or digital file. Good programming had a side A closer and a side B opener that would work well together to perhaps contrast each other or to continue in some cases.
yeah.
This one, of course, side A left off with the long instrumental half of John Lennon's "I Want You, She's So Heavy." A simple, heavy riff song over and over and
Oh
over,
yeah, 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 yeah,
repetitive.
yeah.
And coming off of that heavy end of side one, you flip the record over, and what's the first thing you hear?
Here comes the
George
sun.
Harrison, yeah, picking his guitar, this light, airy, gorgeous tune, quite different from how we ended the first side. And really, this song stands separate from the rest of side B. There have been times in the past when I just wanted to hear everything else that I actually skipped Here Comes the Sun.
I was the
Um,
same way.
yeah, I mean, I love the song. It's one of George Harrison's masterpieces, but side B is really about the medley. And some people think there's more than one medley. Maybe you can break it down into separate components. Like some people consider because separate from a medley. I can see that, but to me, no, that's very much the beginning of
Yeah.
the whole thing. John Lennon, of course, was famously not necessarily a fan of all the bits and pieces here, but to me, this is Paul McCartney's masterpiece. What he did with his own song tidbits as well as John Lennon's song tidbits
Hmm.
by stitching them together like this. It worked well on this album, but it also was a big influence on, I would say, progressive rock artists in particular.
I could see that.
So all these different multi-part epics. The prog artists took it further and had lengthier sections, of course, stitched together. But this is the baby steps of that whole idea.
Hmm.
Um, really, you take these songs separately, a lot of them, and they're not going to stand up very well. You look at like the Beatles anthology series. I think it's volume 3 that has a lot of these bits and pieces in their original demo forms, and they don't work as well.
Hmm.
They're still cool little chunks, but it took what Paul did, stitching them together in this way to really make the masterpiece that this side two is, or side
Hmm.
B.
Hmm.
Um, I guess you could say that if you want to break the medleys down into separate sections, you could say never, you never give me your money, Sun King, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, she came in through the bathroom window, are one medley.
Hmm.
And then the next one is Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and the end.
Yeah, you could say that. But
But yeah, it's a whole side pretty much. Let's keep it
yeah,
real.
yeah, I'll give my opinion at the end. Go on.
Ah, now one of the things I think I never fail to mention anytime this album comes up is, of course, the end is probably the greatest album or career capping finish ever.
Yeah.
I mean, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make, and it's just perfection. That it doesn't get any better than that. And the thing that I always like to bring up is one of the things that made the Beatles so cool. And again, this comes back to Paul because it's a Paul thing here. After that perfect ending, Paul throws in 27 seconds of Her Majesty. Just him diddling
Yeah,
around on his
I
guitar with
yeah,
goofy lyrics about getting a belly full of wine and getting with the queen, basically. Uh,
yeah,
and that's perfectly perverse in a very Beatlesque manner. Who else would do something like that? Cap off that perfect ending with this little, oh yeah, by the way, a raspberry at the end.
yeah, exactly. It's like, wait till I get you alone, my dear, kind of a thing, right? It's like, okay, no, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, I know originally that was supposed to be elsewhere in the medley, but no, Paul nailed it perfectly, putting it separately at the end like that as the
Yeah,
little coda.
yeah.
So yeah, the I don't know. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, for me, this is my second favorite Beatle album overall. First is um, Sergeant Pepper. And this was one of the first albums I bought on vinyl. I was, again, 11 years old. And when my brother-in-law saw that I bought this, he says to me, "Are you sure about this? Because this is quite heavy for you. This is going to be, this is deep for you to buy this. Like, this is a heavy album." I'm like, "No, I'm excited." He says, "Okay." Because I remember he was carrying me into the house, up the steps into the house when I bought it, when I brought it home. He says, "Okay." He could just give me a pat on the back as he's holding me. He says, "Okay, all right, we'll listen to it." But I feel that with the ending of side one with the heavy, I guess, proto blues um, of "I Want You, She's So Heavy," and starting off, like you said, with "Here Comes the Sun," it's almost like on side two from Harrison. It's almost like for me, it's almost like spring has arrived. It's like, like you hear the birds outside, the sun's coming through the window. You open the window, you can smell like the fresh air coming in, and it's like awakening, sorry, from like a long sleep. You know what I mean? And it just welcomes you as the start of the second side. And then yeah, it is separate. I don't count it as a part of obviously it's a part of the medley because it's separate from the medley. For me, the medley starts at "Because" and the harmonies that they do on "Because." And then, just that piano intro of "You Never Give Me Your Money." It just like, it kind of comes in very, very calmly and very, very soothing. It's just a very melodic piece of writing, and it goes through different changes, and get, chord changes, etc. And then Sun King comes in. It's very ethereal, right? It's just a beautiful piece of work. And then Mean Mr. Mustard. I mean, like, what the hell is that all about, right? It's about basically about um, a cheap little piece of shit, really, like, who makes enemies everywhere he goes, and Trump. We won't go there. Yeah, I said it. There we go. And then it segues into Polythene Pam, which is just a good rocking piece of music, right? No rhyme or rhythm to it or reason to it. It's just a good rocking piece of music. And then it stops and it goes right into "She Came In Through the Bathroom Window." Now, like, she says she's always been a dancer. She worked in 16 clubs a day. It's like, what the hell is this all about? As a kid listening to this, I'm like, okay, where's he going with this shit? You know what I mean? But
I
melodically,
knew, but I could not say.
yeah, there you go. There you go. You piece of shit. There you go. And I mean, it just works so well. It works so well. And then Golden Slumbers come in, and with the lyric, "Once there was a way to get back home," and with the piano and the strings, it was very sad listening to that. You could almost sense the end of the Beatles coming, meaning to me, it meant that there's no way to get back to where they were before as a group. And they knew that this was happening, and they knew they had to go forward. You could sense the ending right then and there of the band. Musically, melodically, it is beautiful. It is a beautiful piece of work. And yes, the fact that it segues into "Carry That Weight," uh, just like for like a minute and 35 seconds. It's just a beautiful segue for it. Everything works together, even like all of these pieces work. And then it goes crashing into the end, right? And the end also features the one and only drum solo from Ringo Starr. Okay. From all the albums that they did, this is the one drum solo that he did, and he fucking nails it. And it's just it's a heavy, starts heavy, and then it just, comes to a stop, and then you hear the piano coming in, right? The repetitive piano. And you hear McCartney just does the lyric, and in the end, The love you take is equal to the love that you make. It's like it was beautiful. Just it had a finality about it, right? Everything on side two, I'll talk about Her Majesty in a sec. Okay? But everything from me personally, I'm saying from me, okay? And again, I'm not taking away anything from side one, but for me, side two, from Here Comes the Sun to the end, is just everything is where it's supposed to be. It fits beautifully. It takes you, I've said this before for many albums, it takes you on a ride.
Mhm.
And the problem is, you don't want this ride to end because you know at the very end of the ride, it's over. They're done. The Beatles are finished. Now, there's a reason why there's a bit of a gap between the end and Her Majesty. Okay? Because Her Majesty is what, 23 seconds, 27 seconds, as you said?
What's that?
It's just a very light track, very tongue firmly planted in cheek, okay, in terms of what they were writing. And it wouldn't have fit within the context of the rest of side two, which is why it was left off to the end, right? With that bit of a gap in between the end and the track itself. So for me, that's why I think that side two of Abbey Road is a killer B-side. From again, from track one to track 10, you're on a journey musically, and it goes through twists and turns, and it takes you on highs and lows emotionally. It's beautifully done and wonderfully executed, right? And it's a shame that John Lennon thinks that side two was a load of crap, which is what he would say later on in interviews. Actually, John Lennon said a lot of shit in interviews, but after
Yes.
in the 70s.
And
But
sometimes he contradicted
but
himself
we won't,
later.
yeah, we won't even go there. But that's why I think that, again, that side two is a killer B side. I know this was a difficult exercise for you to do because I know you have difficulty separating the sides, right? From side A to side B.
This is one of those rare, as I said, it's a top five overall album for me, and it's easily my favorite Beatles album. But even though I absolutely adore side one, this the B side here is my favorite, like I said. So it's this one was a little easier to separate.
Okay.
Now, talking about Abbey Road and not being able to go in and defend a couple of the sometimes maligned songs on side one, that's the only difficult part. But I'm going to leave it there because this is about the B side. That's for another show.
You just gave me another idea. Okay. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Attack of the Killer B-Sides, Beatles, Abbey Road. Please tell us in the comments below your opinion of this album of the B-side. Is it a killer B-side or is there something lacking? Was John Lennon correct when he said it was a load of shit or rubbish or whatever? No, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He said it was a load of shit. All right. He was very emphatic in when he said that. So, or is it like as we have told you, as we feel, um, a killer B-side? We'd like to get your comments. Please let us know down below. And please stay tuned for more. Bill will be back with me for another episode. Next one's going to be a real, um, biter for him because it was more difficult. Anyways, and yeah, I mean, again, we'd like to get your comments. So please look after yourselves and one another. Please click like and subscribe, and do hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. Please join us again for another episode of Attack of the Killer B-Sides. Look after yourselves, okay? Bye for now.